Hi, right, let's see what all goodies we can talk about today. But before I start, one of the topics that sort of triggered in my mind, partially due to the nacelles on the B1 and partially due to what I was seeing on Paul's models latest video of the Hellcat 132nd that he was building. And I'll if you don't know his channel, head over there and have a look. I'll put a link in the description. But it's sort of talking about when the fit or something goes wrong on a model to the point that you're so deflated that you really need to set it aside because it's just not a joy to build anymore. Now, I'm not quite there with this B1, but two things happened. I started getting a little bit in a rush, and I didn't initially, now it's corrected, I didn't initially set those tank wheels, but those pieces to make it look like engine inside there at the same depth, and I sort of didn't realize. I just put the one in, glued it up, put the other one in, and while it was drying I was just thinking to myself, is that even the same depth? I looked at them and they were ridiculously different, as in immediately obvious. If you were looking at the back of the aircraft, you would see that. Luckily, glue still wet, moved it, and got them in, got them all glued. These are now all glued solid in the manner that I was talking about. So firstly, I was getting a bit tired. I was not checking everything that I was doing. And then secondly, my plan to sort of ensure that these pieces are matching was going great up until this section. So this section is a stepped section, as you can see there. And I underestimated the strength of that piece in pushing away from what you have set over here. So one of them went very well, and you won't really see it, but it was annoying enough, but not the worst to fix, in that this was great, but that was just causing a step, and trying to force it from the inside, all I was doing was almost breaking this piece out again, and just applying more and more glue and just trying to force it. And it's okay, it's usable, but end result of this, now I don't know if you're going to be able to see, but this line, yeah, I think you can actually see it. This sort of, it does that thing where it's supposed to come together at a nice curve like this, but it's actually dipped in significantly. So not only is there a, let's just see if I can get the right reflection. I mean, I know you can see there's a fair gap to fill, but what you don't actually see is that not only is there that gap, but the entire surface actually dips in. You see there, so you can actually significantly see that up to about 2 to 3 millimeters each side. So while you could fill the little seam line, you're still sitting with engine that should have been about at that angle. And if you look at pictures of the B1, it doesn't even match straight, and this one's going about like that. So you've got a whole valley here. Now with a number of Airfix kits, old kits, you're not expecting the absolute best, and you're certainly not expecting the best with this B1 bomber, but there are things that catch you out and you get a little bit deflated anyway. Now, I don't want to fill, I don't want to go to all the trouble of filling a seam line and still end up with a little valley. So I was busy pondering what I could do about that, and one of the things that I can think is to cut cut, I know this is just paper, but to cut a strip of plastic, the thin plastic, and sort of just glue it over that entire section as wide as what it would need to be. And rather than fill, then you've got this piece of plastic there, which you then only need to sand at the edges, and that sort of gives you this build-up area. So while this is flat over here, and it continues to be flat up to there, it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to actually have a fair rounding. I mean, keep in mind that the engine is inside here. Now that's an inaccuracy which you sort of expect with somewhat older kits. This isn't the oldest of Airfix kits, but I don't want, so I'm not going to fill that with filler. I am actually going to cut cards. So that's something that I haven't actually done before, is filled a seam in such a way that I'm actually building it up and causing a new curvature. So that's a little bit different. But I have had kits that have just knocked the wind out of me. Oh, I didn't bring that other one out here with me. And this is close to one of them, except that I knew what I was getting into with the sheer amount of unpleasantness on some of these very, very old kits. But when you have some of those sort of, you know, real gaps from wing to fuselage, or parts of the wing to other parts of the wing to the fuselage, yes, you know, don't make a rash decision, set it aside and come back to it. And I think it sort of comes down to expectation. You're expecting better from a newer quality kit, from a pretty old kit. And I sometimes use the example of that Airfix Bolt and Pull Defiant, which was one of the worst ones that I knew. And I didn't build it long ago. I only built it recently, 5 years back, to challenge myself. Can I at least build the Bolt and Pull Defiant so that it's acceptable? And I have showed that in previous videos. So your expectation is it's an absolute wreck, but can I do it reasonably? And I did, because I knew what I needed to do. But it's sort of easy when it's a small Airfix, a little 172 single engine. When it's a big 132nd, that's just different. So this, you know, this is sanded smooth, but when you catch it against the light, which you're not going to really see, but there are just so many little things that still need filling here. So basically this entire area, and I might do that with that that sort of paint filler, I can't remember what you called it now, rather than you know, pasting on this Tamiya filler. But it does wear you out. You sort of just want to revert to a nice quality kit. This one it's got the wings on now. The angle is not perfect, and I don't know if the horizontal stabilizer is the imperfect one or the main plane, but I'm thinking it's the main plane, because if you look at the fin there, although it's probably both, to be honest, this kit is old enough for everything to be a little bit, but it's acceptable for what it is. I'm not going to fuss too much. I still need to just paint that little bit of blue, light blue there, and light blue onto the wheel spats, and then it can all go on and the final decals can go on. But as nice as a Lockheed Vega is, and as much as I'd like to do a good one, a good quality kit, this one leaves me a little bit deflated. It looks cool because of those decals. That overwhelmingly sort of makes you think it's really cool looking, but realistically it's a somewhat poor kit. This one, obviously, a nice Tamiya, very, very nice quality, and I love the cars and the bikes. So this has got this little interesting piece, which goes, a little piece of the skirt, which goes down there and fits into that slot, but not all the way, because it then needs to overlap. So it's sort of, it starts off in there in the front and then overlaps at the back there. Not only that, and I'm just pointing this out as a, you know, this is a somewhat new to me a kit, that the length of that piece overlaps in the front of the wheel arch and the back of the wheel arch ever so slightly. That alone has held me up on this car for quite a while. I just need to get it on and glue it, and in the event that it is slightly longer, choose your best side, probably the rear, probably align it with the rear there, and then you might need to just take off a little bit on the easier side to take off some. So that's the GT3, by the way, the 911 GT3. One of you said do this in the red, which I'm now actually liking the idea of. And I do think it'll look quite nice, even though it's probably not the same mark as the actual G-Fire, which I haven't researched yet. But this is just for a fun build. It's just for something different. So I do like that, and I probably will do that. Don't have G-Fire decals, so we'll do some little mod. But this isn't scheduled as one of those builds coming up too soon, because I've looked at my list. And even though I probably am going to be squeezing in things like this, which I had mentioned, and yes, it is that Westland Whirlwind, which is also a Sikorsky S51, is it? That doesn't break the time schedule of the year that much. Quite very simple kit, and for some reason, probably, you know, because I built it in the late 70s, I just happen to love this helicopter. I love that color scheme, so that's just another one that I want to do exactly like that somewhat soon, as well as another little tiger moth. They both fall into that same category of just FX kits that I built long ago and I really want to do. And even though I build one, I still enjoy building another one and another one. It's quite easy. This one I might... Oh, I was looking at the tiger moths that I've done. I've never sprayed one. I've hand painted one. I've unpainted. I've never done a nicely sprayed one. So I'd like to do a little bit of a different thing in that the ones that I have done are quite nice looking. I'd like to build a tiger moth that is in a somewhat aged yellow, a well used tiger moth. And I have the new tiger moth models, but I still just like building the old one, even with its faults. So I've got this odd thing where with some Tamiya kits I am choosing, you know, the really good quality kit, and with some kits maybe it's nostalgic related, but I like the box art, I like the color scheme, and I'm happy building the old one. Now, while I was thinking of the biplane, which again I mentioned that I have not done enough on biplanes, and I brought this up in a video long ago, so I think I will do one of these in the same manner as the tiger moth. Just a, you know, quick and easy build. Don't make a big deal out of it. I think I did open one of the Sopwith. Was it a Sopwith or oh, it was the Avro 504, I think, or something. So one of these I'll do, and I might do the rigging, because the rigging sort of makes it on these old things. That one does look nice because of those decals. Anyway, it's there for the selecting later on. And then when I do get to that Matador truck, which I will at some stage, and then there's also this little Bren carrier, which is another easy FX build. And I do try and get to one of these, you know, at least once a year. The last one was that the half track, was it? Okay, I think that is more or less all for now. So happy modeling till the next one.